Welcome back to the channel, you beautiful lot, and in this video we're going to take a look at Trakker's brand new range of Propel rods. Now I'm lakeside at the moment, so I'm going to go through quickly the tech spec and what you can expect from these rods, including that all important price. But then we're going over to the field of truth where Trakker's powerhouse 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 takes us through the casting capabilities of over these rods and comfortably achieves distances of over 210 yards. When Trakker first entered the world of rods, they did so with a huge statement. Fast forward to today and they've created their Propel range of rods. Now they've cut out the fat and fine-tuned their technologies and come up with a range that consists of the A's, the B's, the D's and the R's. Now we're going to take a closer look at them to see which ones deserve a spot on your buzz bars. Now let's start off with the Propel A's, and yes, as you guessed it, the A stands for all-rounder. So these are just perfect rods in the 12-foot length to take almost anywhere in the UK. So think of your busy day ticket lakes where you need to cast far, so like Linear and B1, and also your secluded little special lakes like 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. What sets the Propel A rods apart is its balance. It's got minimalistic shrink wrap handles for comfort and style, while features like carbon line clips and sea guide eyes and the anti-frap tip ring make casting effortless. These rods are suited for those people who just want one rod to rule them all. Now the Propel B's are the workhorses of the range, and they are designed for smaller venues, snaggy and weedy conditions, and of course boat work. These are available in 3 pound and 3.5 test curve and are built for close quarter combat. Now this rod may be shorter, but it shares the same high performance carbon construction, sleek styling and premium fittings as its bigger siblings. So if you want a rod that's shorter but without compromise, then the Propel B's are just the ones. If long range and precision is your game, then the Propel D's are the carbon for you. These rods are built with the same top tier materials as the rest of the Propel range. Aircraft grade Japanese Torii carbon fibre, and this model takes the performance to a whole new level. Now the D's are coming 12 foot and 13 foot, both supporting a robust 3.75 test curve. These rods are suited for those people who just demand precision and power in equal measure. And now for the Propel R's, which are 100% my favourite in the range because the R stands for retractable. And I just love the compact size, the manoeuvrability of these rods. Everything about these rods suit my fishing because they're just a huge space saver in your tackle, in your car or in your van. These are available in 3 pound and 3.5 test curve. In fairness, there is nothing these rods can't do. Anything under 100 yards, this type of rod from Trakker is just convenient, accurate, and there is no issue playing a fish as hard as you dare if you need to put them away from dodgy, snaggy areas. And then finally, to finish off this impressive range of rods, is the Propel D Spod and Marker. Now this spod and marker comes in 12 and 13 foot and has all the mod cons and expressive tech that the rest of the rod range have. Now these rods start at $249.99 and go right through the range up to $299.99. But that is enough from me. Let's get a bit of excitement in the video and do the bit that you've all been waiting for as we go and join 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on the field of truth to properly go and put some bend in this carbon.
So hello, you join me down on the casting field today where I spend a lot of my time practicing carp casting and my tournament casting, and today we are joined by Neil from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And basically what we're going to be doing today is giving you a quick demonstration of the full range of Propel rods, ranging from the Propel R all the way up to the big boys, the Propel D 13 foot 3 3/4. So the first rod we're going to start with is the Propel R 10 foot 3.5 pound. Now I'll quickly talk you through the setup that I'm using. Firstly, the reel, it's just your standard big pit reel. Line is a 𝗃𝗃𝗃 12-pound line. Now, as you can see, I've got a red shock leader on here. Now, the purpose of this is we're casting over a field. If we do have a crack off, it's just going to be that much easier to find. And then we've got a 3-ounce lead on the end. Now, again, we're not putting a rig on the end. We don't want to be casting live rigs out into the field. So this is what I tend to use for my practice casting when I'm down here. So we've got a bit of a court set up to our right here. We've got a few cones out ranging from 100 yards all the way up to 200 yards. And basically we're going to have a bit of a cast with them and see what sort of ranges we can get and give you a bit of a guide as to what I think is the optimum sort of setup for each rod. So I'm going to give it a quick cast down the field. Now, I'm not going to go crazy. It's only a soft rod. It's not an out and out distance rod. I'll start soft. I'll warm up a little bit each time. See how far I can push this rod to give you an idea of what this rod's actually capable of. So I'm not going to do anything crazy. Just going to be one step overhead. Start off nice and slow, and we'll progress and see how far we can achieve with this setup. Right, so we've had a few casts now with this rod. It's been comfortably over 140 yards, and that's not putting too much into it. I'm going to try and hit one a little bit harder now. Obviously, it's not designed for this kind of fishing, but the purpose of this is to show you what they're actually capable of. So I'm going to give it that little bit more. I'm not going to try and break the rod, but you know, I want to try and hit it well enough to give you guys a good representation of what it's actually capable of. So we've had a few casts now, giving it that little bit more, and we are just past the green markers, which are 160 yard. We're probably around 162 yard. Now, for a retractable rod, you know, that's a great distance. Obviously, everyone's got different casting abilities, but this is just a sort of true representation as to what the rod's actually capable of. So we're going to move on now to the Propel B and see how that compares to this retractable. Now, my predictions is this one is going to go a little bit further. With it being a solid 2-piece rod, it gives me a little bit more confidence in the rod. It's going to have a stiffer backbone. So I do think this one's going to go a little bit further. We'll have a few casts with it and see how we get on. But the benchmark to beat is 160 yards from the Propel R retractable. So here we go. We're going to give the Propel B a go. It's the same setup as last time, apart from the rod. So we've got the same reel, same line, and the same 3-ounce lead. So let's see how we get on. So the same as last time, we've had a couple of casts to around 160 yards. Now I know there's a lot more in this blank, so I'm really going to hit this one. I've got a lot of confidence in it. I have cast this rod a few times before to distances over 180 yards. Granted, the weather conditions were slightly better then, but I do think there's a lot more in it than 160. So I'm going to give it a good whack now and see what we can get out of it. That's the one. So that wraps up the testing for the Propel B. It was quite interesting, to be honest. What we found, the distances weren't too dissimilar from the Propel B and the retractable. Now, I did hit this one a lot harder, to be fair, than the retractable, which is quite surprising. So the sort of distances we got was like 165. It's only a little bit further, but still it was further than the retractable. I changed the lead size to a 3.5 ounce. It actually went a little bit shorter. So what I found was the 3 ounce suits this rod a lot better than the heavier leads. Now this is the 3.5 pound test curve. If you used to use a 3 pound, maybe 2.5 ounce lead, 2 3/4 would probably suit it a little bit better. Right now, so we're on to the 12 footers. Should start seeing some bigger distances now. We've got the same setup, same line, same braided shock leader. The lead size, we're up to a 3.5 ounce lead. I think we could get away with a 3.5 to start with, but I think we will have to up it to maybe a 4 or a 4.5 ounce lead. But like I say, we'll have a few practice casts, see how we get on with it, see what sort of distances we get up the lead, and then we'll take it from there. Right, so I'm going to talk you through one step overhead cast, what we're doing with this rod today. So the drop for this rod, as you can see, is in between the butt guide and the next guide up, so just right in the middle really. I mean, if it was the rule of thumb is if it's a stiffer rod, like I say, you can lengthen the drop maybe down to about the butt guide, and if it's a softer rod, you want to sort of be up here to the next guide up. But for this rod, we're just right in the middle. I'm going to be doing just a standard one step overhead cast. So to quickly talk you through how I'd normally do it. I personally tend to have a little bit of a bend in my right arm. There's two different ways you can do this. You can either have your arm all the way back, like a javelin style throw, or you can sort of come down a little bit like this, a bit more of a squatted stance, which is how I like to cast. It's not your traditional sort of method, but it works for me. You know, if you can take anything away from it to improve your casting, then it's great. But yeah, like I say, that's my sort of style. So I'll squat in that sort of position. I'll have the rod kind of a 45-degree angle. As I step into my cast, I'll drop the rod. So it sort of look like this. I'll drop the rod so it's parallel. And then from that position, I'm then going to punch through and pull with my left hand. So let's see how that works. So that last one went 193 yards. I'm going to give it one more go. I want to hit that 200 yard. That's my goal for this rod. So it's the Propel A. I feel like it's got it in it. The conditions are a little bit difficult at the minute. We have got a bit of a crosswind, but I'm going to give it one more go. And then after that, we're going to get the big boys out, the Propel Ds, and then we're going to give Neil a go and see what he can hit.
Right, now for the embarrassing bit. So Ant's got Propel Ds out, which stands for distance rods. And we've got a 4-ounce lead on it. So I'm gonna put my best effort into one. And then Anthony's gonna add on as much yardage to me as he can, which isn't gonna be that difficult. So, right. That felt all right, that. Right, well, my benchmark was 170 and my first cast was
172.
172.
About 172.
Right, so there is a few improvements I can make, believe it or not, which I'll hand over to you. So if I get in my position, which is kind of that.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do now?
So your technique overall was very good, to be fair. I mean, I'd start off with your feet together so you can step into the cast.
Okay.
And then your right arm, it's going to feel a little bit awkward. There's two sort of styles I use really. I mean, one of them is you've seen how I bend my arms ever so slightly, but you've got a traditional overhead style of cast. What I'd recommend doing is to bring your arm back that little bit more in that sort of position, which feels awkward. It doesn't feel comfortable at all. But
that is not comfortable.
It does not feel comfortable, but I assure you, it does get you more power in that shoulder. As if you were throwing a ball, you know, you want to get your arm right back and really launch it. So that's where you want to be with your right arm. It feels awkward, but if you give it a try, do exactly what you did with your left hand and you step in. Your rod was parallel when you cast. So yeah, overall it was a great cast, mate. So let's see if this shoulder can make a little bit of a difference.
Oh, I hope so. That should make my day. Right, so that's good, is it?
Yeah. So Neil's just smashed his target of 180 yards. I've never seen anybody do cartwheels from such a distance. So it's time for me to have a quick go with this rod. It's a 12-foot, 3.75 test curve. Same line again as last time, and we've got a 4.5-ounce lead. I'm hoping to get over 200 yards with this one. Oh. And now finally, we're on to the big guns, the Propel D 13-foot 3 3/4. We've got everything the same apart from the lead. We've upped it to a 5-ounce lead. The rod's a real powerful blank and it can handle those kind of weights. There shouldn't be any issues hitting 200 yards with this. The last one we've done with the 12-foot 3 3/4 Propel D, we've not measured it yet. We put a marker out there. It looks like it's 200 yard. I know from previous distances that I've cast in the past and markers on the ground and stuff, but we'll measure that at the end. But this one, yeah, there'll be no issues going 200 yard. But I think 210 maybe a bit more, but we'll have a play, have a few casts with it and see what we can do. This is going 200 yard. This is getting sent. So testing's finished, 12 foot and 13 foot both done. The 12 foot went just over 200 yard and the 13 foot was just over 210 yard, which I'm really pleased about. Now, one thing that we wanted to get across to you guys with these rods is, yeah, we could have changed our technique. We could have done more of a tournament cast style. We could have done a couple of steps. We could have put more body weight behind it and really give them a good whack. We could have put thinner lines on. I mean, we was using 0.30 mono, which was a 12-pound line. We could have easily put 0.25 like a tournament casting style, but we wanted to give you a true representation of what a normal fishing situation would be. And for me personally, if I was fishing long distance at range, a 0.30 would be a suitable diameter of mono for me to use. So I hope this video has given you a true insight of what these rods are actually capable of. Obviously everybody has different casting styles, different techniques and different abilities, but the distances that we have achieved today should give you a true representation and put a bit of trust into these quality rods, because I've threw everything at these rods today and I didn't break any of them, and I did try.